Airports are only loud when you're part of them. When you're late, when you're rushing, when the departures board is a second heartbeat. After midnight, when the last flights slip off the runway and the floor machines hum their sleepy lullaby, an airport goes quiet. So quiet the vents sound like distant surf. The lights dim to a soft, regulated dusk. Announcements stop apologizing, and in that hush, a single note can cut the dark like a match. On Concourse B, under a frosted glass, skylight, sits an old upright piano, a once shiny black thing with scuffed legs and a lid that sticks when the air is dry. It's been there longer than the smoothie kiosk, longer than the Gates' new chairs, longer than the smartphone era. People call it the silent piano because no one plays it anymore. Not since keys rattle, not the pianos, but a ring of brass on a belt. Isaiah Brooks, night shift janitor, moves like a man who knows this building by muscle memory. He's tall, shoulders soft under a navy jacket, shoes that don't squeak. His hands are strong in a quiet way, the kind of hands that remember the weight of other work. He sweeps. He empties bins. He nods to security cameras like old friends. When he's sure there are no stragglers, Isaiah pauses by the piano, runs a cloth over the lid, and presses his palm to the wood. He doesn't look around. He doesn't clear his throat. He just lowers himself to the bench. The first note he plays is almost nothing, a breath of sound. The second finds its sibling. The third descends like a step into a pool you're not sure is warm. Isaiah's fingers are slow, careful, like he's lifting something fragile. A melody threads out, haunting, uncertain, then sure. It sounds like a question that already knows the answer. By gate B23, asleep in a row of bonded leather seats, a man flinches. He's in a wool coat, scarf thrown on like an afterthought. He's famous enough that even sleeping he looks like a photograph you've seen, and heavy enough in the eyes to be human instead of a headline. Adrian Vale, Grammy winner, platinum seller, the kind of white musician whose name rings off tongues, in sold-out arenas, opens his eyes not because he wants to, but because the sound demands it. It's a melody that belongs to nowhere and everywhere. Adrian sits up. The terminal is empty. The shops are shuttered. There's a blinking sign. Weather delay. A storm has made the airport its church. Outside, snow moves sideways. Inside, the melody keeps walking forward, and Adrian follows. Isaiah plays with the lid half down because old habits are hard to kill. You hide your voice before you decide to use it. He keeps the damper pedal steady. When the soft footsteps enter the concourse, he doesn't look up. His hands find a phrase he wrote years ago, a phrase that tastes like metal and lavender, and the way night used to feel before it got heavy. You shouldn't stop, a voice says, breath folding the air. Please. Isaiah's hands falter. He lifts his foot. Silence drops back into place like a lid closing. Sorry. The man stands a few paces away, palms open, a smile lifted in surrender. He's the kind of guy who's used to easing into rooms without asking anyone's permission. He lowers his voice. That was extraordinary. Ain't much, Isaiah says. His voice is warm honey, polite, cautious. Just keeping my fingers from rusting. Adrian steps closer, squinting like he's trying to place the face of a stranger he's sure he met in another life. Do you play here often? Not often. Isaiah's glance flicks to security. Empty halls. A camera blinks. He clears his throat. I'm mostly clean. I'm Adrian, the man says, as if that isn't a sentence the world already knows. Adrian Vale. Isaiah's reaction is not theatrical. He just looks at him, really looks, and nods once. I know who you are. Adrian laughs, embarrassed, like he's been caught bringing the wrong gift. Right. Of course. The storm shakes the windows. A distant plow scrapes the tarmac. Metal on ice, a chord no piano can play. "Listen," Adrian says, leaning an eye. Elbow softly on the lid like you'd lean on a fence you're not sure is yours. "We're both trapped under the same cloud. Would you play that again?" Isaiah's thumb circles a groove on the key cover, worn by countless hands. He hesitates, like a man standing at a door he once locked for a reason. "It ain't for show." "Then don't make it one," Adrian says gently. "Make it for whoever it's for." That sentence knocks on a sealed room. Isaiah lets it. He lifts the lid. The sound opens, and the melody returns, fuller, braver. Notes climb and fall. A minor turn lingers and refuses to apologize. Adrian sits slowly in the nearest chair like a man who remembers how to honor a chapel. He closes his eyes. Some music congratulates you for being in the room with it. This isn't that. This is music that says, "Sit down. We need to talk." When the last chord fades, there's a silence that's not empty. It's packed. Adrian exhales for the first time in what feels like a long time. "What's it called?" he asks. Isaiah's jaw moves as if the answer is a pebble he's turning with his tongue. "It ain't got a name. Names make things real. Real can be good. Real can be heavy." Adrian nods. He understands weight. He's dragged it by its handle across continents. "I've got a show in 3 nights, he says. "A benefit. Live-streamed. Full orchestra. Hall sold out, you know the circus. Come play that. With me." Isaiah looks at him like he's being offered a job on the moon. There's a bitterness with roots in it. "I'm a janitor." "You're a pianist," Adrian says, careful, like placing glass. "And, if it matters, I'm not offering charity. I'm offering because I'm selfish. I want that sound on my stage." "No." The word is clean, practiced. "Thank you." Adrian's face shifts. Surprise, then recognition. He leans back. "Okay, may I ask why?" Isaiah's gaze travels to the security camera, to the silhouetted runway, to the tiny scuffs on the C4 key. He doesn't answer. "Tell me what I'm missing," Adrian says quietly, "because I think there's a story in that melody, and I hear grief and something else, something you didn't let finish." "Some songs ain't supposed to finish," Isaiah says. He stands and closes the lid. "Night ain't done, and I got trash cans waiting." He begins to move, but Adrian speaks too fast, words stumbling, a crack in the polished voice of a man used to microphones. "I heard it before." Isaiah stops. Slowly, the room gathers around that sentence. "What you mean?" Isaiah says without turning. "Not exactly that," Adrian says, rubbing his temple, fishing in a drawer of memory he keeps messy on purpose. "Years ago, a clip online. Dark hall, bad audio, same ache, same left hand, that steady." He taps the rhythm on the piano's side panel. "I remember because it was the only thing I listened to that week that made me shut up." Isaiah turns. The lights catch his eyes in a way that makes them look like they're holding someone's reflection. "I don't post," he says. "Not since, not ever." "Then someone posted you," Adrian says. "And then it vanished. Taken down, probably. Labels do that. People do that. I searched. I didn't find it again. I remembered anyway. I remember you." The security camera blinks. The storm pushes against the glass like an ocean trying the shore. Isaiah's knuckles are white on the rail of the cart. His jaw unclenches slow. "You really don't know, do you?" "Know what?" Isaiah glances at the gate sign. B-23. He lets a sigh out like a secret. "I used to come with my little girl to watch planes. She liked the red tips on the wings. Said they looked like the nails her mama wore to church." He doesn't wait for permission. He sits again. He opens the lid. This was her piano, he says, and the first note lands like a snowflake on a wound. Years peel back with the sound of the left hand, steady and low. Picture Isaiah a decade ago. No janitor jacket. Shirt sleeves rolled, collar open, hands softer then because they weren't used to the weight he carries now. He's playing this same piano for a cluster of kids traveling with their choir. A petite black woman stands behind. Him, Celine, laughing with her eyes, tapping her nails, red on his shoulder in time with the music. A little girl in a yellow jacket claims a corner of the bench. Nia, hair in puffs, shoes scuffed from dancing everywhere because floors are just stages no one paid for. "And what does this one sound like?" Isaiah asks. Nia answers without hesitation. Like rain that doesn't want to stop, but then it does because the sun asked nicely. Celine laughs. "You heard the composer say, play it sunny." He plays the melody brighter. Nia hums. Airport staff lean on mop handles. A gate agent forgets to be stern. Somewhere, a business traveler doesn't realize he'll remember this for the rest of his life. They came every Sunday after church. Isaiah would play and Nia would dance by the windows, and Celine would collect smiles like souvenirs. The piano sang enough to make strangers miss their announcements and not mind. Then, a wrong morning, wrong in the quiet way a fever starts. There's a call from Celine's mother, a ticket booked last minute, a bag the size of a weekend. "I'll be back Tuesday," Celine says. "Hold the world steady for me." B-23. A woman at the gate scans the boarding passes. Celine kisses Nia's forehead twice because twice is insurance. She kisses Isaiah once, which is religion. "Play for her while I'm gone," she says, sealing a promise they don't understand. The flight boards. The door closes. The plane moves, and Isaiah lifts Nia to the window so she can press kisses to the glass. 3 quick taps. One for Mom, one for the plane, one for God to pay attention. Later that day, much later, in an afternoon that will split into before and after, a call, an apology, a voice that has practiced saying terrible things gently. Nia is too young to comprehend the machinery of catastrophe. She hears what she hears. "Your mom's plane." She looks at the old piano like it has done something wrong. She won't go near it again. The airport lights stare at their own reflections. The keys of the piano sit with their mouths closed. Grief tries to make rules. Isaiah tried to obey. Rule 1, don't play. Sound brings back what you can't hold. Rule 2, don't ask why. Answers are just different shapes of the word no. Rule 3, keep moving. If you stop, you'll feel the weight that keeps up when you do. He sold the little upright at home. He boxed the sheet music, labeled it miscellaneous, and put it under the bed. He took a day job, then another. Bills required math. He learned how to change a mop head without getting his hands dirty, but there was the airport. He kept coming back, first to walk, then to sit across from B-23 and stare at a gate door that knew his wife last. When he needed a second job, the application put itself in his hands. Night shift offered anonymity and a quiet he understood. Security whispered, "That the guy from the piano?" "I think so." "Don't ask." They didn't. Isaiah could still hear Celine's laugh in the glass, and Nia, curious, abundant Nia, grew into a teenager who made the world bend around her because it was polite. She avoided the piano like a superstition. She posted drawings of clouds that looked like stairs. She got into a magnet school. She danced at recitals that made people cry and not know why. When Adrian Vale rose and rose and rose, when his name became the floor that radio stations walked on, Isaiah noticed and didn't. He was busy being polite to heartbreak. He kept. The silent piano dusted and silent. Isaiah's hands stopped playing the memory. He sits with his spine straight like a man who learned posture from church pews. That's part of it. he says. Part's enough. Adrian is still. Fame doesn't prepare you to be quiet, but he is. His voice, when it comes back, is softer. I'm sorry. It ain't your fault. I know, Adrian says, ashamed of how useless the phrase feels. But still, they sit with the storm. My offer stands, Adrian says finally. Not because I think a stage cures anything, it doesn't. It complicates. But sometimes light puts edges on grief so you can see where to hold it. Isaiah's laugh is dry. You always talk like that? Only when I'm terrified, Adrian says, which is most of the time. Of what? Being noise, Adrian says, and not music. Isaiah looks at him then. Really looks. He sees past the coat and the scarf and the brand. He sees a man who's been applauded for so long he's always waiting for it to stop and show him who he is without it. Why me? Isaiah says. Because you made a room with 6,000 seats fit into this concourse and not one was empty, Adrian says. Because you played something I recognize from before I ever heard it. Isaiah looks down. Something shifts under the lid. He lifts it. The felt strip that helps the keys fall quietly is worn thin in the middle. Tucked under it is a folded sheet of paper. Creased, fragile, patient. Isaiah hesitates, then slides it. Out. You said it didn't have a name, Adrian says. It didn't, Isaiah murmurs. He unfolds the page. It's handwritten staff paper. The left hand pattern inked careful, the right hand unfinished. In the top margin, in a young person's loopy script, a title, Gate 23 for Ma. Below it, a second line indifferent. Handwriting, smaller, unsure. And for D. Isaiah's fingers tremble. He smooths the paper like you'd smooth a child's hair. Nia, he says. She wrote that. She wanted to finish it. For her mama. Adrian swallows. Where's she now? Dorm room miles from here. First year. Dancing. Breathing. Thank God. The words loosen something. She don't come to the airport if she can help it, but she sent me this last month. Said I should play again. Said I should stop making silence holy. He puts the page back down like a prayer. Adrian breathes once, like it might be his last chance to say something brave. Let me help finish it. Not to take it, to serve it. And if you want me to get out of the way, I'll move. I can open a door, that's all. Gates, Isaiah says, half smiling despite himself. We're in the business of them. A walkie-talkie crackles from Isaiah's cart. Brooks? Power crew says we're cycling the lights in B, brace for black. Isaiah picks up the radio. Copy. He sets it down, looks at the piano, looks at Adrian. Okay, he says. One condition. Name it. If this gets finished, if it gets played, her name goes on it first. Done, Adrian says, without even pretending to negotiate. Her name goes on it. Always. The lights go. Not all at once, but in a slow ripple that makes the concourse look like it's breathing. Emergency strips glow along the floor. The storm outside turns the windows into a silver sheet with teeth in it. The piano becomes a silhouette with a mouthful of stars. Someone else is in the dark. Adrian hears it first. The slink of a foot between chairs, the whisper of a bag zipper. He turns his head. A small shape moves, stops. A teenager, maybe 17, hair shaved on one side, a thrift store coat swallowing a skinny frame. The kid's got a violin case covered in stickers. Their eyes flash when they realize they've been seen. Don't run, Isaiah says, not stern but certain. You'll trip, the kid freezes. It's not fear that's loudest in them, it's hunger. Not food hunger, permission hunger. You listening long? Isaiah asks. Since he started, the kid whispers, pointing at Adrian, which is funny. Before that. Since always. I sleep by sea concourse sometimes. Security knows. They mostly pretend not to. What's your name? Adrian asks. Della, they say, eyes darting between faces. Della Gray. You play? Isaiah nods at the case. Della's hand tightens on the handle. Enough not to starve. Some nights? Ever play in the dark? All the time. The lights stutter. The piano waits. Isaiah taps the bench. Come on, then. Della doesn't move. Trust is a door with rusted hinges. Adrian reaches for his scarf and, without a word, hands it to Della. A small, silly gesture. It's not about warmth. It's about somebody seeing you and offering the thing they have closest to their skin. Della steps forward. The case clicks open. The violin is a cheap one, but it's loved. Isaiah places the handwritten page on the stand. The ink in Nia's script is a compass needle pointing home, left hand steady like a heart that refuses drama. Isaiah says gently, right hand's the story. Della, you double the story until it's brave enough to leave home. Adrian sits on the floor by the bench back against the piano leg. I'll listen for holes. What if we make some on purpose? Isaiah says. Adrian smiles in the dark. My favorite thing. They play. The left hand holds the ground. The right hand suggests a path, then changes its mind. Della comes in like a bird. Tentative, then sure, then reckless in a way that trusts the air. The melody finds them. It tells them where to go, and they tell it when it's wrong. The terminal changes shape. It becomes a studio, a church, a living room where someone's grandmother naps while the radio hums. The power returns in a gradual glitter. Light finds faces. A TSA agent stops and doesn't stop them. A cleaner from another shift leans on her mop and cries for a reason that will surprise her later. The storm outside surrenders like a tired bully. When they finish, the terminal is not clapping. It is reverent. Again, Adrian says, voice hoarse. Again, Isaiah agrees. They play until the clock on the departures board becomes less a number and more a witness. By dawn, the storm has spent itself. Flights begin to think about forgiveness. Travelers appear like animals after a fire, cautious, hopeful, hungry for coffee. In Concourse B, a semicircle of strangers sits, suitcases at their ankles, breakfasts balanced on knees. A toddler repeats the left-hand pattern with palms on thighs. An elderly couple holds hands like teenagers. A man in a pilot's uniform listens from the shadows, cap in his lap. An airport PR person, hair in a tight bun, approaches with a clipboard and an expression that's learned everything she knows about risk from lawyers. We appreciate the atmosphere, Mr. Brooks, she tells Isaiah, reading his name off a badge. But we... Please, says someone behind her, and the word comes out like a check handwritten by a very rich person. Adrian Vale steps into view, pulls off his beanie and smiles. Cameras twitch into hands like birds. Can we do one more? The PR woman blinks. She calculates the publicity value so fast it hurts. Absolutely, of course. We'd be honored. Not about honor, Isaiah says gently. It's about time. I'll make it quick. The PR woman rushes off to fetch a portable speaker and a sign that says Live Music. Enjoy. Della tunes a string. Adrian rubs his hands like a man about to lift something he hopes he's strong enough for. Isaiah taps the paper, looks at the scribble at the top, the names that give him permission. Before he plays, he stands. He doesn't clear his throat. He doesn't look for a podium. He just puts the words where they are. Simple things. True things. My name is Isaiah Brooks, he says. I work here. This song's called Gate 23. My daughter named it. My wife would have liked that. Silence answers, the good kind. It ain't finished, he says. Not all songs. Should be. We'll leave space. You can put what you need in it. He sits. He plays. This time, the melody doesn't apologize for what it's about. It doesn't hurry through the part where fear says it has the floor. It pauses where it needs to. It gives the grief its chair and then it keeps going. Della's violin finds a harmony that doesn't make the melody prettier so much as it makes it braver. Adrian hums under his breath, barely audible, a thread that doesn't want attention, just wants to hold. At the first stop, an intentional absence, the terminal holds its breath. A baby laughs, and the chord they land on next makes that laugh part of the score. A boarding announcement tries to step on the music and then, uncharacteristically, backs away, quieting itself like a person leaving church mid-sermon, hat in hand. They finish, and no one moves. Then the applause starts, the way rain starts. A few drops, then a sheet, then it's everywhere. Phones are up, sure. That's how we prove we were where our hearts went. But most people forget to film the last few seconds because they need both hands to clap. Isaiah stands a little dazed. He smiles, and it looks like a man picking up a photograph he thought he lost. Adrian steps beside him. The offer still stands, he says quietly. It's bigger now. It's not my stage, it's ours. Yours. Isaiah looks at the gate sign, B23. He nods once, the way men nod in agreements that aren't about money. Okay, he says. Okay. They call it a hall, but it's an ocean. Lights fall where they need to, the way rain knows roofs. A full orchestra yawns toward attention. People in gowns and people in denim breathe the same air because the ticket link didn't. Ask about their resumes. Backstage, Isaiah sits next to a music stand with a new sheet on it. Same left hand, same right hand stitched with courage. Same title. Two names at the top now, Nia Brooks and Isaiah Brooks. Below, in small type, with gratitude to Della Gray. To the right, smaller still, featuring Adrian Vale. Ready? Adrian asks, not like a band leader, but like a friend outside a hospital room. No, Isaiah says, but I'm going anyway. Good, Adrian says. Me too. Della bounces on their toes like they've got a secret engine under their ribs. They've been given a new violin by a donor who cried in rehearsals and couldn't stop once. She started. The instrument smells like varnish and promises. Isaiah looks up at the lighting grid, inhales, and sees the skylight of Concourse B. He hears the plow, the storm, the silence, the emergency strips. He hears Celine's nails on his shoulder. He hears Nia's little girl coach voice. Make it sunny at the end, Daddy. Please. They walk into the light. The hall stands. It sits. It waits. Isaiah is not fancy about it. He adjusts the bench like a man who knows he's not sitting alone. He lays his left hand down and feels a pulse. He lets his right hand tell the truth. Gate. What 23 unfurls. It brings the airport with it. The smell of pretzels, the low gossip of arrivals, the squeak of suitcase wheels. It brings the grieving man and the child who learn to look away and then learn to look back. It brings the famous musician who, for a few minutes, has the exact same job as everybody else, to keep someone else breathing steady. In the middle, the intentional absence arrives. Isaiah lets it widen. He leans back. He does not rush it. The eye. Absence becomes a shape with edges, and those edges curve. It is not a hole. It is a window. Della steps into it. Their line is thin at first, then warm, then metallic like the inside of a bell. The orchestra listens and does not rescue. It waits like a good friend. From the wings, a camera sends the moment to millions of screens. In an apartment far away, a young woman in a dorm hoodie, Nia, stares at her phone with her mouth open, hands over her heart, alone in the best way a person can be alone. Her friends knock. She doesn't hear. When the piece ends, she is still standing. Isaiah lands. The last chord like a plane that knows the runway. He keeps the pedal down just a second longer than he should, because goodbye is a muscle that needs care. He stands into a sound that is not applause so much as relief. He bows without looking at the floor. Della grabs his hand like they're climbing something together. Adrian comes last, head bent, grateful for the excuse to spend a night being a musician instead of a monument. Backstage, a woman with a headset and a bossy kindness wipes her eyes with the corner of a laminated pass. A journalist forgets her question. A donor decides to fund a program without making anyone audition. Isaiah's phone buzzes. A text. A photo. Nia's face, tear-streaked, smiling. Words. Sun at the end. Thank you. Come home. He texts back. Always. A month later, Concourse B wears a small plaque beside the piano. It reads, "The Silent Piano." This instrument has held many stories. Some of them are quiet, some are not. Play with care. Below, in small letters, dedicated to Celine Brooks, who taught us to listen. Isaiah doesn't quit the night shift. People ask why. They don't understand that you don't leave a place where your ghosts know how to find you. He takes a new title, Artist in Residence, because someone somewhere loves titles. It comes with a stipend and a freedom schedule. At night, he still sweeps. He still empties bins. And some nights he plays, not every night, because mystery needs oxygen. Della plays afternoons for tips that turn into a scholarship fund with a funny name. They learn to love rosin dust on black shirts and to write thank you notes to strangers that double as prayers. Adrian's life does not become pure. Fame keeps being a moving target. But something fundamental shifts. He puts money quietly into airports that can't afford pianos and into teachers who aren't supposed to make art out of kids' ordinary lives but do. At shows, he plays Gate 23 and steps back during the absence, inviting the room to hear what it needs to. Sometimes, late, when the storm has chosen another city to sit on, Isaiah lifts the lid and plays the first few notes, and the airport remembers how to be small. He doesn't finish, he never will. That isn't the point. One night, he feels someone behind him and doesn't startle. He knows the weight of the air that belongs to his daughter. Nia sits on the bench corner like she did in Yellow, knees knocking his thigh. She's taller now, hair different, eyes the same. She doesn't say, "Make it sunny at the end," because she doesn't need to. He plays, she hums. The concourse becomes a living room. At gate B23, a boarding call floats like a ribbon above the keys. The words are the same as they've always been. Now boarding all rows. That's life's line if you hear it right. All rows. No one in this story is above or below the others. They just go when it's their turn. Isaiah lifts his hands. The last chord hangs. He lets it do what it came to do. Not end, but rest. And somewhere in a cheap seat on a red-eye in the middle of a country that keeps arguing with itself, a stranger hears a tune in their head they can't place. It makes them call home when they land. It makes them forgive someone a day earlier than they planned. It makes them look for pianos in public places, the kind that ask nothing and give you back your own name when you touch them. The Silent. Piano keeps its title the way some nicknames stick even after they stop being true. It isn't silent anymore. It's just careful. It waits until the right pair of hands comes by, and then it tells the story again, not to finish it, but to keep it alive.